how does someone overcome the doubts that come up? Whether it be the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of other people's opinions, the fear of pleasing their parents. How do they overcome the doubts and start to gain that confidence, that self-esteem like you?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, first of all, understand you're not alone. That everybody you run across has had doubts. Everybody you've run across has had apprehension about who they are, where they are, where they're going, etc. You're not alone. In situations like that, you want company. You want to feel like you're not this aberration. You're not this anomaly standing alone by yourself in the wilderness of fear, and you're the only one that doesn't have the courage to tackle it and overcome it. That's number one. Number two, educate yourself about what you want to do. You should be scared if you're clueless.
Right.
You should be scared if you're ignorant to what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how you intend to go about achieving whatever aspirations you may have. You're supposed to, if you're going to overcome that fear at some point, knowledge is a part of the equation. So educating yourself about what it is your field is, what it is your aspirations are, whatever the case may be, the minefields that lie in wait, all of these different, the potential minefields, et cetera, et cetera. You got to know to educate yourself about those things because you have no shot at overcoming it if you don't educate yourself. And last but not least, it's not just about educating yourself and knowing that you have company, but really the most important thing is really putting yourself, and it requires like a literal, not just figurative, but a literal look in the mirror. Asking yourself how you will feel if you never try.
Ooh.
Asking yourself that.
Yeah.
If I never try, if I don't go for this, where's that going to leave me? When you don't do that, what you have done is refrained from challenging yourself to be all you could be. Because there's no one that could become all they could be without looking at themselves.
Absolutely.
Denzel Washington talks about consistency, the importance of consistency. You understand? You got to put in the work. You got to go for it. But you have to have consistency because without consistency and putting in the work, the dream is nothing but a dream.
Right.
And I get all of that. But you have to be able to look at yourself and you have to be able to be honest with yourself and know when you mess up. Because when you mess up, Lewis, it's going to catch you. And what I mean when I say it's going to catch you is at some point, you're going to look at you and you're going to say, I didn't try. I didn't go for it. And we know this because of relationships and various other things, but I often tell people this, particularly when it comes to relationships. Relationships come and go. Things don't work out sometimes. But there is nothing on earth worse than when you know you're the reason it messed up. See, if somebody mistreats you, if somebody that you love wants you, don't want you no more, but you wanted them and you treated them right and blah, 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 but it didn't work out, it hurts. But you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Most people will be fine. When you're not fine is when you know it was you.
You messed up.
You messed up.
You hurt them.
You wanted them and you messed up. And you messed up. Now, if you didn't want them and you messed up, okay. Because you didn't want them. Perfectly illogical explanation as to why you messed up. But when you wanted them and you effed up, it's no greater pain.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at you. And you got to say, damn, I blew this. Right. And that's some hard stuff to overcome. Because it lives with you. Because no matter what you have, even if it's better, you don't know it because you're thinking about what you lost because you're the one who messed up.
I know.
If they messed up, you ain't thinking about it like that. But if you messed up, you're always thinking about what you lost. And it's hard to move forward.
I've got a handful of questions for you left.
Sure.
And one of them is about in the book, Straight Shooter. Make sure you guys get the copy of the book, Straight Shooter, Amazing Stories and Lessons from Stephen A. You talk about your dad, and I'm curious the biggest lesson he taught you, whether in a good way or a bad way, that you said, this is something he did positive that I'm going to do as a father, or something that I'll never do as a father that he did. What is that lesson? And what has he taught you about fatherhood now that you are a father?
The importance is two things, one positive, one negative. The positive part is he taught us the importance of laughter because my father was funny.
Really?
And, you know, he was exceptional in sports and he was an exceptional calypso dancer. He could sing and he would make people laugh and smile all the time. He could light up a room. And, you know, the importance of laughter, you can bring up a lot of gifts, but somebody's ability to make other people laugh is one of the greatest gifts you could ever give anybody. That's a positive. The negative is that, and it answers the question about fatherhood, he taught me what not to be as a father. My father, this is in the book, it just wasn't good. I loved him, I always will, but I didn't shed a tear when he was gone.
Wow.
The only reason I see him at his gravesite is because he's buried next to my mother.
Wow.
If he wasn't, I wouldn't go visit him. We didn't have that good of a relationship. It's not hatred, but there is a significant and flagrant lack of respect. My lack of respect for my father has very little to do with me. Mm-hmm. It has very little to do with how he, quote unquote, treated my mother. Because my philosophy is don't put your hands on a woman. He put his hands on my mother, we'd have killed him. Mm-hmm. But he never did that. And he preached against it. So I give him credit for that. But what he did with my mother, he forced her to be the man of the house. Now, I know that's not the popular thing to say in this woke culture. I'm not apologizing for that. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing for a woman to have a career, to make money, to provide for her family. I admire it. I respect it. I throw no shade on it. But I am unapologetic about the fact that if you can afford it, it is your responsibility as a man to provide for your family.
Especially if your wife just has 6 kids.
Yes.
You've got to take care of
right.
nurturing and feeding and developing.
It's your job.
Yeah.
It's your job. You understand? I mean, any help that she could give you is great. But the responsibility is supposed to be yours. Yeah. And if you can't do it, you scratch, claw, and even die trying. Wow. One of my favorite all-time shows was the show Good Times. Mm-hmm. James Evans Sr. You know, he lived in the projects in Chicago. They had to scratch and claw. They barely had enough money to feed their family. It was an apartment in the projects. But that's what they had to deal with. He was the one out there busting his butt every day to make sure that his wife and his children were provided for. Wow. I'm of that ilk. It means nothing to me. And I mean nothing. And I'm not married. I've never been married, even though I'll probably get married sometime in the near future. The bottom line is this. It's my responsibility. And I usually say this, and even though I would take care of my wife and what have you, I have 2 daughters, and I tell people all the time, if they're hungry, it's because I'm starving. I don't eat.
Wow.
I don't eat unless I know they eat.
Wow.
I'm not comfortable until they're comfortable. I'm not providing for me until I provide for them. When they're taken care of is when I get to take care of me. The priority is them because they didn't ask to be here. They're mine and they're my responsibility.
Wow.
And I live by that.
Wow.
And so to me, any man that thinks differently is not the kind of man that I respect.
Sure.
And my father was not that kind of man.
Right, right. Do you feel like something unlocked inside of you when you had your first child? Because you, at the time, if the timeline is right, you got lost the job, and then the child was on the way, the first child. Was there a new power?
She had just arrived. She had just arrived, yes.
Was there a new power or energy or something that...
It was pure fear.
Really?
It was pure fear, Lewis.
Wow.
I've never been more scared in my life. I've never been more scared in my life. I was petrified. And I held on to that because regardless of what I felt I didn't deserve from ESPN letting me go, the reality of the situation was it was the time I was living in. And I had to find a way to feed my child. It's just that simple. And I was scared to death.
Wow.
To death. I mean, I really, really, really was. I had saved up money. I had saved up well over $500,000, and I was living off of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you see that go down every month.
You see that go down every month, and it's dwindling, and you're like, oh, you know, and it was really, really, really scary. So for me, that's what it is now. Anything that I have now is dressing, because to me, I can give up a couple of my cribs. You know, I can give up the cars. I can give up any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. What I can never give up is making sure that my daughters are provided for.
Yeah.
That's my number one responsibility. Everything comes after because I'm a man, and that's my responsibility.
Yeah.
And if I were to get married, even though unmarried, I'm still like that. But if I was married, I'd be even more like that. It's my job to handle my responsibility for my wife. Now, some people be like, man, please, you got some men out there that's like, hey, man, please pay some bills. What you think?
Sure.
I don't think like that, because anytime I see a woman pushing and struggling or whatever, I think about my mom and what my mother was forced to go through.
Right.
And so for me, that is everything to me. You do what you want.
Right.
I'm talking about what you have to do. I'm not talking about doing what you want. To me, if you are a man and you have a woman in your life, you have a family, she should have to pay bills.
Right.
That's your job. Mm-hmm. That's just the way I am. I had enough confidence to know that the skill set, which got me a basketball scholarship, which put me in a position to learn from a legend, not just about sports, but about life. Mm-hmm. I learned about that, and then I learned about the importance of networking because he knew everybody.